Where would you go and how would you advise Derrick Lewis to navigate his current position amongst the heavyweights? Now, Derrick has fought for a world championship twice. Derrick, to lose a world title fight to the now interim champion, cannot logically or realistically, in a fair world of which we do not operate in here, it cannot make him stumble too far. However, Derrick has something that most other guys don't. I mean, I would have to compare him to Nick and Nate Diaz in that people love him in and outside of the cage, regardless of what he's doing. So if you're looking for where does Derrick Lewis go from here, you cannot instantly discount that he's ever going to return to a main event and or a title fight. I understand how these things become less likely when you come up short. But Derrick Lewis has a win over the reigning undisputed champion. So it's not as though you can come away with this conclusion and say, well, Derrick has just proven that he can't compete with these guys anymore. No, that's not what he proved at all. He proved that he has a hard time competitively with Ciryl Gane, specifically. Derrick has not proved that he can't go with these guys anymore until he was to lose to Francis, who Derrick has already previously defeated. That doesn't solve the problems, right? It does not solve the problem of perception, but Derrick is in a unique spot. He would need a unique strategy, unique to him. I could never advise you to have a Nick or a Nate Diaz strategy. Use that as a blueprint and tell you if you do this, you're going to make a ton of money. I think Nate's lost 5 and won 5 of his last 10. I know I'm damn close. Nick has not fought in 5 years, possibly closer to 6. If you do either one of those two things, you're not returning to a meaningful place in this sport if you're even still within the sport. But it's unique to them. And I think that I see some real crossover there with Derrick. If you went fighter by fighter and everybody on the roster and saw who had the most followers on Instagram, and I haven't done this, but I would submit for you that Derrick Lewis is top 5. And when you're Khabib and you're the most popular Muslim athlete on earth, and you already stole the number 1 spot, I mean, right, Derrick, I'm still saying Derrick's top 5. Derrick is unique. Derrick offers something special. Derrick got a title fight for taking his shorts off and then declaring to Joe Rogan on a hot mic that his balls were hot. Derrick built a fight against Daniel Cormier, which headlined a sold-out Madison Square Garden, also known as the Mecca, by sitting in a press conference and saying his problem with Daniel is that Daniel one time had insulted that Popeye's chicken. Derrick Lewis is unique. He's special. And he's a straight-up badass, but he has a way to fight. He has a way to fight. It involves power, it involves stand-up, involves some explosiveness, and it also involves getting to the target. All of those were things that he was not able to do against Ciryl Gane. Fine. That only answers the question of Derrick versus Ciryl. It does not remove Derrick. Now, I still haven't gotten to the point, which is Derrick has the ability to take his oars out of the water. That's one ability that was extended, a respect that was extended only and exclusively to the Diaz boys, where they could take their oars out, they could sit out, and no matter how much time went by, their stock did not sink. I don't know that I could offer you a third athlete where that is true. You can even see the panic within Conor McGregor right now of putting out ridiculous tweets and ridiculous statements because he has a fear inside that his stock is falling so much that people won't remember and they won't care. Now that's Conor being a little bit out of touch with reality. Conor is still the sport's biggest star. Red Panty Night is still real. It might not be as real, it might be as red, and the check might not have as many commas, but it's still bigger than anybody you could get. And the mere fact that Conor is going through this right now just lets you know, guys can't be forgotten, except for the Diaz boys. They had a different way to do it, and I submit for you that Derrick falls into a similar category as that. So before Derrick starts wondering about what this does to his ranking or what it does to his placement within the organization or now how many he has to win to get back on track or what's going to happen between Ngannou and Ciryl, before he gets to any of that, perhaps he understand that he could take a break. He could just take a break, say, look, let things settle down. And there was a lot of good happenstance that got Derrick as far as it did. The fact that they were in Houston didn't hurt for getting an interim championship. It didn't hurt for getting a main event and the opportunity that he just had. If you were to back up to Derrick's fight with Curtis Blades, that was not a competitive fight. Curtis kicked Derrick's ass until Derrick knocked Curtis's ass out, right? I mean, Derrick only had a few good seconds in there. They were just some really good seconds. Might remind you of the Derrick Lewis fight versus Volkov. He only had a few good seconds. But it's also all that he needs. He's unique. Which again, if you go see Nate Diaz versus Leon Edwards, that's another comparison. And that's what I'm attempting to do. You can't treat Derrick like everybody else because he's not. He's special. He has a commodity outside of the punches and kicks. And there's only a handful of guys and gals that you could say that about. So as far as Derrick's next move, and before we try to match him up, before we try to say this is competitive and this matters, Derrick needs to go along with the narrative of which is pretty quiet right now. Nobody is calling Derrick out. They're not calling him out as a sign of sportsmanship, which you don't call out a guy that just got TKO'd. You let him heal. So the fellow heavyweights are being very respectful. Think that it might be wise for Derrick to go along with that. I'm not talking about some huge break. I'm just talking about you don't come out with a statement right now. That seems to be the big thing after every single fight. And the dirt sheets I go to, the elbows and the manias, the person issues a statement, right? As though it was like done by some presidential candidate. They issued a statement. No, they didn't. They put out a tweet. Putting out a tweet or putting out an Instagram is not issuing a statement. But either way, don't play into it. If there's a narrative that you only get one time to come to the table and make your statement, don't do it now. There is no benefit to any fighter ever making a statement that is not possible to monetize. That is what's so weird about Conor McGregor making these statements now, because you only have two categories: picking a fight and promoting a fight. And they're different categories. The things that you are going to do and what you're going to stoop to and the lines that you are going to step across to pick a fight are very different than once you have a signed contract and you are now promoting a fight. They're different. If you don't have either of those two, that's when you fall into Conor territory. And I can't defend Conor, but neither can you. If you were Conor's biggest fan, you couldn't defend him right now because he doesn't agree with you. He doesn't agree that it's okay to do some of the things he's doing, which is why he keeps deleting them. He doesn't even agree with it. So be careful before you think that you do.